Good evening, I'm Lisa Broom with the CBC Evening News. We begin tonight with news that operations at the country's Supreme Court complex have been halted indefinitely. Workers today walked off their job after deciding they would no longer be contending with a buildup of mold on the premises. Kareem Smith has that story.
The dozens of workers behind me have walked off of the job. It's because union officials say yet another government office has been plagued with environmental concerns. According to reports, the walkout at the court happened after 9 this morning. When we arrived, many of the workers indicated they had no idea why they were off the job. However, General Secretary of the National Union of Public Workers, Rodney Smith, says that the root of the problem is a buildup of mold.
The mold is dropping down onto the workers, and it's a matter where we know that the roof is not a small issue. As
a result, she says a number of officials, including a judge, have fallen ill. Ms. Smith says the accumulation of mold is one of many environmental issues facing Supreme Court workers since the complex, which also houses the National Registry, opened back in 2011. The developments are occurring on the heels of problems at the Treasury and Immigration departments. As a result, the union leader says government must do its part to keep workers healthy.
For years we have been saying to government they need to do maintenance. Remember when we had the Ministry of Public Works who would have gone through buildings and that was done away with, and you're seeing the results. It makes no sense shifting workers from this building to that building to be paying high rental fees for buildings, something like over $70,000 a month in rent.
Affected by the walk-off were lawyers and a host of civilians who were waiting to get their matters heard, including William Greaves, a former resident of Emerton in the city.
I'm going to leave the harbour to come out here. And when I leave the harbour, I don't be sure if I can get here or not. I had a bag for time this morning to get here. I got to get by to work for 12 o'clock. Well, my lunch is 11:15, and this here I can do about 10. It's at 10:30, something will happen here, which I know ain't true.
As it turns out, he was right. Minutes later, workers gave notice to their managers that they wouldn't be back at work for the remainder of the day. Stakeholders meet on Friday to discuss the relocation plans. In the meantime, there's no telling how soon the facility will once again be fit for use. Kareem Smith, CBC News.
Thanks, Kareem. Barbados Water Authority General Manager Keith Roy Halliday has sought to clear up brewing speculation after scores of workers were seen outside of the Pine building on Monday. He says what occurred was not a strike.
There was a meeting called by the shop stewards to meet with our employees. That meeting really was to update the staff on what was happening in respect of increments pay, back to pay as well. And for whatever reason, it seemed to have come across as a strike. Obviously, you have some workers that become agitated, and therefore, based on their actions, it would appear to be a strike, but it was not a strike.
Mr. Halliday says management has had a very good and cordial relationship with the Barbados Workers Union as well as the shop stewards over the last year.
We are being updating them as much as we can over the last while, and we continue to do so on a very regular basis. We've had a number of discussions, not just only central to incremental pay, but to deal with a number of outstanding IR issues which we've dealt with over the past year, to deal with a number of other issues, including PMAS, including some of the other peripheral issues that impact on the Barbados workers, on our employees really, in terms of insurance, health, etc.
Communities are being urged to join the fight against poor garbage disposal in Barbados. This from DLP candidate for St. Michael's Southeast, Rodney Grant, as the person guilty of illegally dumping in Lower Burney was forced to pay for his actions. Kareem Smith tells us more.
The man seen in a viral social media video illegally dumping at Lower Burney, St. Michael, was forced to spend much of the day on Tuesday cleaning up his mess. He refused to comment on the inappropriate disposal of old appliances, furniture and garbage. However, DLP candidate Rodney Grant condemned the action. He says the fight against such dirty practices needs to take place at the community level.
This is the things that are going to break us We can encourage this kind of activity in any way at all, because this is the things that are hurting Barbados. This is a small country, a small island, and we can't have these kind of bad environmental practices. People can't be driving around just dumping anything anywhere that they feel like.
Mr. Grant revealed the illegal dumping ground was cleared by the National Housing Corporation and the Ministry of Health to relieve residents of cowitch, bees, and giant African snails. Mr. Grant admits that many Barbadians need help disposing of appliances and other household items. However, he's adamant that the country must not be allowed to move backward in the area of garbage disposal.
I remember when we used to just come out and you used to have a little rectangle thing in the community. You used to just throw your garbage on the ground. The guys would come with the shovels. Then we moved to the point where you had the bags. You would tie them in the bags and put them out. Then we moved to the point now where you will have the cans, you will tie them in the bag but put them in the cans. Now we seem to be moving back now where people are just throwing garbage on the ground. And they say we can't be going backward, we got to go forward. So the forward movement now, we should be finding ways to segregate. You separate your cans, your bottles, and you segregate your waste. The same way you do it in developing countries. We can move, because we're a small country. And we can't afford to have a garbage disposal problem. We cannot.
Meanwhile, the illegal dumper will have to give environmental officials a certificate proving that the garbage collected on Tuesday is discarded at a certified dumping ground. Kareem Smith, CBC News.
Thanks, Kareem, and there is lots more news coming up, so stay tuned. With weeks to go before the start of the 2018 hurricane season, strengthening national and regional disaster management plans must be a priority. That's according to Acting Minister of Foreign Affairs, Steve Blackett, as he addressed the start of a two-day meeting between CARIFORUM member countries. He says better planning would allow countries to recover quickly after a disaster and put them in a position to help themselves and others. Mr. Blackett is also encouraging CARIFORUM countries to come together to tackle the effects of climate change.
Most of our countries will be impacted by the scourge of climate change and specifically rising sea levels and temperatures. We in this region will be more affected than most by the impact of climate change, whilst we are the least culpable in the production of greenhouse gases, which are at the root of this calamity. I'm advocating that we should unite as a region and call for the full implementation of the Paris Climate Accord. This matter, along with the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals, should engage us if we are to survive and succeed right here in the Caribbean Sea.
The key aim of the meeting was to review whether past strategies have worked to encourage cooperation among member countries, as well as to develop a plan of action going forward. Head of the EU delegation in Barbados, Daniela Chamisheri, acknowledged that the language barrier between British, French and Dutch territories could be an issue. She says, however, a study done highlights insufficient political investment as a major challenge.
Putting out a general and an unsubstantiated call for undefined cooperation is not enough. A statement we've seen and we have witnessed many. It is now necessary to identify specific actions and remedies that would make and would benefit key stakeholders, including not only the government or regional authorities, but also the private sector. And not the also is actually an understatement, and particularly the private sector and society at large.
Barbados is spearheading efforts to train local and regional educators to become Mabalosi, who will foster Afrocentric awareness and culture at the nursery, primary, secondary and tertiary school levels. 30 people from New York and 4 Caribbean islands, including Barbados, are taking part in the first regional Mabalosi training workshop, which was organized by the Commission for Pan-African Affairs. Over 80 Barbadians are already recognized as Mabalosi. Director Derek Murray is reminding educators of their important role in wrestling against mental slavery and helping students to increase their self-esteem.
Not many people fully understand the ramifications and impact of a lack of self-esteem among our African-descended children. And this workshop we consider to be serious business. We consider you, the educators, to be on the front line of a heated battle for the minds of our young people. So
And this opening of the workshop also included the handover of a symbolic baton. Youth Minister Stephen Lashley says the 8-year-old Mabalozi program fills a void which exists in Barbados and other Caribbean countries.
Mabalozi program, of course, seeks to highlight what has been missing in our Caribbean societies for so many years. The focus on building self-esteem, particularly in our children of African descent. But of course, we need to build self-esteem not only in our children, we need to build self-esteem in every citizen across the Caribbean, particularly as we relate to where they stand as we are at this juncture in terms of our journey away from the African continent.
A senior agriculture official believes a significant portion of the Scotland district is underutilized. Chief Agricultural Officer Lennox Chandler says the district makes up about 15% of land in Barbados, and he believes the area would be ideal for a fruit orchard.
Scotland district represents about how much? 1/6, 1/7 of the land mass of Barbados. We have to utilize it. For the people who live in the Scotland district as well, we need to develop that area so that the people can stay in the Scotland district, live in the Scotland district, and make a meaningful living from in the Scotland district. And we have lands on there. I want to see some effort made to plant those lands up, especially as it relates to fruit production.
Mr. Chandler also believes the time has come for renewable energy to be integrated into the agricultural sector in a major way.
Maybe we've been talking about renewable energy in Barbados since 1973. Those of you who can remember something called the oil crisis or the energy crisis, we were shouting all about renewable energy. And this is 2018 and we still spinning around, as Elon like to say, spinning top of mud as it relates to renewable energy. We're not pressing the accelerator hard enough. We're pushing back, we're pulling back fairly quickly. And we need to link renewable energy with the agricultural sector, both for primary production as well as for processing, because we know that we have a very high energy bill.
Well, if you're concerned about the effects of climate change, if you love the natural environment, or you're just curious about nature's creatures, well, then this week may be just what you need. Every evening from tonight until Saturday, the Made in Canada Film Festival will afford Barbadians the opportunity to see a spectacular IMAX documentary at the Barbados Museum and Historical Society. Canadian High Commissioner, Her Excellency Marie Legault, said Canada has a vibrant film industry that dates back to 1897. She said documentaries have a message for the planet.
They all tell the story of what we did to the planet and its wildlife at one point, and of the abuse we've put on our land, and of the dramatic negative impacts. However, they also tell the story that we can take stock of those negative impacts, and that with will, vision, collaboration and partnership, we can reverse this situation and protect our environment in a successful way.
Culture Minister Stephen Lashley says his ministry is in the process of developing a policy to guide the establishment of a Barbados Film and Digital Media Commission.
The main objectives of which will be to market Barbados internationally, to attract foreign production companies, to use Barbados as a film location for feature film, television dramas, documentaries, music, videos, cinema, and television commercials, and still photographic shoots, and also to develop efficient systems in cooperation with the various government departments for the processing of permits, licenses, and official assistance which such foreign production companies may require prior to and during their visit to Barbados, and also to provide information on local companies and individuals who can provide services for the visiting production companies.
The films are entitled Mysteries of the Great Lakes, Gold Fever, Jane Goodall's Wild Chimpanzees, and Wonders of the Arctic. Well, yet another woman has reached the growing ranks of centenarians on the island. She is Marian Burnham, who spent her 100th birthday surrounded by family and friends in Mount Stanford, St. James, which is a stone's throw away from where she was born and raised by the seaside. Acting Governor General Justice Sherman Moore was on hand to toast Ms. Burnham. She's the mother of 7 children, including the late former Barbados Olympian Ezra Burnham. Her family described the former hotel worker as kind and generous and committed to God. In fact, there were no excuses for her children when it came to missing Sunday school.
One day I was playing in the sea with a board, we call it hulling, and I hit my toe onto a rock and raised the nail. And they said, "What, boy? You go to Sunday school. Jesus looks at your heart, not your clothes." And I went down to Sunday school with my nice shirt and pants, tie, and no shoes on my feet.
Ms. Burnham says she is grateful for her blessings and credits an old-time remedy with her health.
The all police, and he was telling me really act 15, and I would read the lesson, so then I would have to hold up the Bible. Then I said, "You don't wear glasses?" I said, "No, my mother gave me charcoal, so I was born about the sea, so I don't wear no glasses." I give God thanks for everything. I pray for everybody, you know, the people that passing. Morning, good morning, and the people in the buses and minibus, when they see me, blow the horn.
Wow, she's amazing for 100. Happy birthday, Miss Burnham. Still to come, we'll look at some of the stories making headlines across the region.
The Caribbean, brought to you by CIBC First Caribbean.
Police in Grenada have launched an investigation after a video surfaced of 2 Grenadian men reportedly being held captive in Venezuela. In the video, the captors are holding guns to the heads of the 2 men.
2 weeks ago, a video went viral on social media with the men pleading for their lives. Now, days ago, another video was released, and this time, voices are being clearly heard telling the men that they will be killed if monies reportedly owed to them are not paid.
Tell them on the next time, we will kill you. Next time, we will kill you for real. For real. For real, we will kill you. For real. So, you see that? You think that's a game? The man will kill you. The man will kill you. Métele un disparo así en los pies ahí para que el hombre take class.
No. One of the men at the center of the video is Marlon Garraway. His family has been trying to raise the US $30,000 being demanded by his capture. And with funds not easily accessible to make the payments, his mother says she is even more concerned now about her son's safety. She says so far they were able to raise enough monies to make only 2 payments.
A day after his demotion, Daryl Smith has been dismissed as a government minister in Trinidad and Tobago, but he will remain as the Member of Parliament for Diego Martin Central.
We are told by the Office of the Prime Minister that Dr. Keith Rowley's decision to revoke the appointment of Daryl Smith as Minister in the Ministry of Housing follows a meeting with Minister of Planning and Development, Camille Robinson-Regis, and Mr. Smith, during which new information came to the attention of the Prime Minister. The meeting resulted in the appointment of a committee to thoroughly review the circumstances surrounding the dismissal and payment of compensation to Ms. Carrie-Anne Moreau at the Ministry of Sport and Youth Affairs. The committee, to be chaired by former Permanent Secretary and Human Resource expert Jackie Wilson, and including Polaid Mutota of WENAD and attorney Elaine Green, is to report in 2 weeks. The Office of the Prime Minister is anticipating that all parties involved in any non-disclosure arrangement in this matter will lift such impediment so as to allow the fullest examination of the facts for the benefit of the public. The alleged sexual misconduct has prompted opposition leader Kamala Persad-Bissessar to take draft legislation to the Parliament that allows action to be taken against sexual harassment in the workplace. She made the announcement during the UNC's Monday night forum in Barrackpore.
I am drafting a private member's bill to take to the Parliament to deal with the issue of sexual harassment in the workplace and at educational institutions. I will take it to the Parliament. and let the government be bold-faced and shameless enough not to support law against sexual harassment.
Just last week, Fixing TNT made a Freedom of Information Act request in relation to a settlement involving then Minister of Sport Daryl Smith and an unnamed former employee. Director of Fixing TNT Kirk Waith, commenting on Monday's reshuffle, had said the decision to leave former Minister of Sport Daryl Smith in the cabinet showed insensitivity towards women's issues.
Over to Dominica now. Former opposition MP Joseph Isaac, who recently resigned from the United Workers' Party, will be part of a newly constituted cabinet of Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit. Isaac was named a government minister.
Consequent upon our meeting last Thursday, and after consultation with senior members of the government and the governing Dominica Labour Party, I subsequently contacted Mr. Isaac and extended to him an invitation to serve in the government of Dominica in the capacity as a Minister of Government. Honorable Isaac, after consulting with his key advisors, accepted that invitation and will therefore feature in the new cabinet of ministers that I'm about to announce. Honorable Isaac has not at this point joined the Dominica Labour Party, but he has satisfied me of his focus in wanting to help the people of Roseau Central and to put his...
And several other portfolios were announced, including that of Deputy Prime Minister.
Prime Minister and Minister for Finance, Investments, Housing and Lands. Honorable Reginald Austrie, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Agriculture, Food and Fisheries. Honorable Levi A. Peter, Attorney General. Honorable Dr. John Colin McIntyre, Minister for Public Works, Water Resource Management and Ports. Honorable Joseph Isaac, Minister for the Environment, Climate Resilience, Disaster Management and Urban Renewal.
Across the Caribbean, brought to you by CIBC First Caribbean.
Well, just ahead, a peek into the world of sports. But before we get to that, here is a tip from Cooperators General Insurance.
Of the day is brought to you by Cooperators General Insurance Company Limited. Insurance the way you want it to be.
Anti-doping rule violations number 4. Doping is the failure to file accurate athlete whereabouts information or receiving a missed test. This fact is brought to you compliments the National Anti-Doping Commission.